Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Well, hello everybody, and it wouldn't be the internet, and it wouldn't be YouTube, and it wouldn't be Restream if we didn't have issues created by new updates to software. So things are going to be a little weird tonight, but don't worry, you're going to get your usual awesome show. Let me first of all shout out my panelists. I want to say thank you to Prophet of the Dragon, Steve. Steve and I are doing live show reviews. We're going to start this Sunday live, watching the House of the Dragon, streaming ourselves, reacting to it in sync with what's on the screen. We watched it together last week. It was a hell of a lot of fun and reviewed it, of course, on Nerdporial's channel. Steve, thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I also want to thank the lovely, the beautiful, the amazing Zaxx. How are you doing, sir? You had a good stream last night.
I was expecting someone else.
Beefcake.
I'll take it. Yeah. Yes. The Disney model. Absolutely. And Amazon a bit. But yeah, stream last night was fun. House of the Dragon. It was I liked the episode. Yeah. You guys went way more in depth. I like the covers that the live conversation you guys had. I thought that was great.
Yeah, there's a couple more pieces we're going to clip together because, I mean, it doesn't get any more real than that. We expected to hate the show. We'll get into it a little bit. This is not going to be an all House of the Dragon show. We're going to talk about it a little bit. But the thing that we want to take away from that is, I think, given what we're seeing, we need to define the criteria of what all of us consider to be a good show.
Yes.
Purple Valkyrie is here. She's equally lovely and beautiful and amazing as much as Zaxx. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I had to mute myself when the little dancing aliens came on. That just finished me today. I just did it. Great deepfakes.
Before we get into it, like I said, things are going to be a little interesting because Restream isn't cooperating and certain people, you don't care. But first thing I want to do is say thank you to Daniel for, before the show even started, he gifted 5 memberships to the channel. If you get one of those notifications, just click on accept. You don't have to pay anything. Daniel has covered your first month. If after then you want to join my channel, and I hope you do, it's $2.99 a month. But again, there's no obligation. Daniel's covered it. So thank you very, very much, Daniel. It means a lot. It truly does. And then also, Daniel, you dropped a I'm going to have to bounce around. Yep, that super chat is not available just because we weren't live yet. This is part of the technical issues we're having. Daniel sent a super chat for $5 and said, literally cannot watch beyond 30 seconds, and he's referring to that Rings of Power trailer that I put the poll above, if you haven't voted in it, says we get Stolen Valor. Gladriel, and then modern pop music. I said it was Evanescence or an Evanescence karaoke type thing. And it because nothing says Tolkien like tween angst music. Angst is my word. You're absolutely right, Daniel. Yeah, let me shout out some of the other people we have. We got Ian Soforth, my channel member. We have Psycho Dwarf 9, who I believe is a channel member. We have Thunder Sensei 150. Hail to you. I hope you got my DM about your audio. I'd love to re-record with you or have you record on your own. I'd love to have your take. Hail to Sarah Gary and a channel member. Cheers to you. You guys are awesome. Who else do we have? And again, things are a little dodgy because I have to kind of do Zaxx in my job tonight because Chrome is the devil.
And so forth.
Yeah, Silverlock and so forth. Sheawalla Dragons is here. Cajun Corey Rourke is in the house. Double the Corys, double the fun. And we also have Rosie Gamgees is in the house. Has ever wonderful person. Lots to say about everything. And I think I am. Oh, we've got Nerdscape too. He says, still don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair.
sums it up pretty good.
Yep.
Brevity is the soul of wit, and that may be the best laugh we get on the show tonight, thanks to you. But I'm hoping we can do a little bit better. We've got Brett Rose dropping howdy. It's great to see you guys. We have Louise X Sparrow, who was actually hanging out with Purple Valkyrie at a con last week. You want to talk about that real quick, Purple?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Was lucky enough to get to go to the annual or Discworld convention. Got to hang out with lots of Discworld fans and like-minded people, and got to see Louise as well, which is so good to see because it's been about 4 years since we've had one. So great to be back on the disc.
Yeah, I look forward to talking with you about that on a show sometime this week because you were giving me some of the play-by-play, and she actually picked me up a vintage Lord of the Rings board game, which was still new in the box with all the sealed cards and counters.
That's awesome.
It was only £5. So
what?
I'm super stoked.
That's
Dude,
crazy.
I know, right?
That's nuts.
I know. I didn't even know this existed, and we didn't even know the name. So I was going on eBay. It was like $50 here in the States, and I'm like, sweet. Hail to Dr. Rachel Lindbergh, who says, "Hail, salty panel in chat. It's great to see you. You guys, a lot of you guys have been having awesome cons and awesome cosplay. Thunder Sensei always crushes it too. And we've also got Smile for a while. It's wonderful to see you. Says good evening, all has ever. And I think I've got everybody covered. Yeah, great. So let's get into the first topic of the evening. And what I wanted to do with that was just loosely talk about what I hinted at, which was, and I have, this is going to shock you guys, I have 8 million windows open, is to talk a little bit about the House of the Dragon, but not in the way you may be thinking. We're not here to tear it apart and use platitudes. And God, I hate all these pop-ups and stuff. Yeah, metrics. Metrics on this. House of the Dragon draws twice as many viewers as Stranger Things. And Stranger Things was the biggest number, I believe, of concurrent viewers for Stranger Things season 4, and this thing blew it up. So I know I watched it with Steve. If you're interested in what we had to say, please go check out Nerdporial's channel. It's going to be every Sunday and after show. But like I said, Steve and I are going to be doing live reactions to the show, so you can have our brilliant takes on in the background if you're watching the show.
Well corrected.
What I wanted to do with this is I've kind of been surprised by, I'd say, a lot of takes from a lot of different people. And some people who said they'd never review this show. And, you know, we're all allowed to change our minds on things. That's how the world works. But I've also heard some takes on the show that I strenuously disagree with. And I'm not going to get into a war with anybody. We're allowed to not like things. We're allowed to like different things. But what I wanted to do was kind of say, you know, what are my criteria, and see what the panel thinks as well. Like, what are your criteria for what makes something good, right? You can all say something is shit, something is woke, you didn't like this, oh, look, they forced the diversity casting. There's a lot of merit to those arguments in a lot of different shows. But what is your criteria for making a show good? because for me, the House of the Dragon completely subverted my expectations in that it wasn't anything I expected it to be. Steve,
Agreed.
I'll start with you because you were pretty hot about some things, and you don't have to hold back here. You don't have to hold back. Go ahead.
Just because how do I say it? I mean, some of the takes have been a little bit weird, and it's one of those things that, you know, part of the reason I want to say this right to try not to offend too many people. I hope I don't, but it's one of those. We've always said that we are the people that will say when we're wrong, or just sort of we're looking. You know, if we expect something that's bad and it's good, we're going to say so, right? And I feel like this is all being tested right now with this show, because yes, I know season 8 of Game of Thrones was terrible, and I know half the, you know, some people think Game of Thrones at season 6 was bad, and so on and so on and so on, right? And that put a big stigma on this show, and it made that hill even higher for this show to climb. Now, I think it's climbed that hill with episode 1. Now, that doesn't mean the whole season's going to be great, but episode 1 was very good television. Was there some parts in it where it was like, sure, but they went away from it really, really fast, and it actually added to the show. There was good dialogue, there were good character moments, there was good acting, the music was great, the surroundings were great, and I don't understand how, when we get a show like that, people can't put away some of these other feelings, go, wow, that actually surprised me and that was really good, instead of just saying, well, making up all these things, like, well, they said this, so it ruined the whole show for me. It's like, well, that actually was part of the story if you're paying attention. She you know, that happened. She wasn't made queen because she was a woman, and then at the end of the show they have to make a woman the heir. It's part of the show. So if we're so afraid of some of these words, and that we keep them from actually show, like, us expressing what is a good show, because we've heard these catchwords or these keywords being said, and we can't see around that, then we're never going to get any good shows, or every show is going to be bad, because we won't admit when there's a good show out there. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, and Purple, you haven't seen it yet, so I'm not skipping you intentionally. But Zaxx, what is your take on this? I mean, just in a nutshell, you said that you liked it. You know, keeping in mind sort of where I'm, how my brain works, regrettably. But you know, what were some criteria for you that made you go, you know, you liked it, or you were in the middle, or somewhere like that?
I thought it was done very well. I do know the source material, and there was nothing that was overly surprising about what they did or how they told us that initial story. And so I was impressed with you, Corey, because you went into this not wanting to like it or watch it. Well, I won't say not wanting to like it, but you weren't excited about it, and you came out having really enjoyed the show.
Yeah,
and that's what I think most people's criteria should be, is if you watch it and you just give it a chance to tell you a story, and you stick with the story, if at the end, did you enjoy it or did you not, is a real question. And for me, I've seen a lot of criticism of the show that I just can't really wrap my head around, and it seems like maybe people didn't actually watch it. And yes, there's things said in this that we've been hit over the head with, right? The whole the feminism stuff over and over, but in this case, it's in the story. So they're only telling us what happens in the book, and it really does happen that way. And so you can't be upset by that. And in fact, to me, watching it, there was times when they pulled back on that theme when they could have easily
that's
forward.
the thing. And you watched it. That's it. Let me grab this super chat. I'll go right back to you, Zaxx. This is for $5 Australian from Ruvel Arvide. Hail to you and thank you very much. It says, still waiting for the great cleansing of the second age of Middle Earth. I have a theory on that I was going to make a video about, but when we get to the Lord of the Rings, I'll tell you some. I've listened to earning calls for certain companies, and this is some things you're not going to get from a lot of YouTubers. And I may have actually been kind of dismissed by, do I want to go down that road, by some people, but I still believe in the credibility of my thesis. But sorry, thank you so much for that, Ruvel for the $5 Australian. It really helps. Thanks everybody for the super chats tonight. Go ahead, Zaxx.
Well, I was going to say that, like, they pulled back on times when they could have easily pushed that narrative, but they didn't. They let it sit there. And I liked the dialogue. The characters were consistent throughout. I thought they acted as you'd expect those characters to act. They aged up the children, which I think was great. Thank God they did that. And they aged up to Emma, the wife, as well, because she was 15, I think, when she had Rhaenyra in the book. So like these were kids in the original book, and these are adults now, and I like that better too. I thought the changes were good. I don't know. I don't understand how we've become so sensitive now that there's one theme that comes up and we're out, and then we look for things to hate. And a lot of the criticism isn't internally consistent at all with what happens in the show.
I agree. And it's one of the things that we talk about backstage, because we are friends in real life, and we do argue in real life too, because everyone else on this panel is ridiculous except for me, and irrational. No, I'm teasing, obviously, but we try and challenge ourselves. And Purple's really good at this, and so is Kyle. Are you just seeing ghosts? Are you sort of anticipating the hit of the woke before it happens, or looking for it? Now, this shit is everywhere, and I've been calling it out for almost 2 years. Right? So I'm not being hypocritical. What I'm saying with this show, it could go off the effing rails episode 2, and I will be back here going, you know what? I love the first episode. This is trash now. It only took 2 episodes before they did the bait and switch. Yes. If that happens, I will be the first one to say it. But if I only get 1 episode of really good fantasy television out of both House of the Dragon and the abomination that I think it's indisputable is the Rings of whatever the hell it is, then at least I got 1 fantasy episode, 1 new thing, And it was such a well done story. It was self-contained enough where I'd be like, that was cool. Go ahead, Purple.
Yeah, could I float just a question past you guys? Because obviously I haven't seen it yet, but I do plan to watch it. Do you think a lot of people's opinions were perhaps coloured by what was a pretty terrible trailer? So they've gone into this wanting to hate this show because it was kind of on the nose?
So I think there's that, and also you got a lot of the actresses and actors and showrunners opening their mouths and making political parallels that aren't even there. I mean, there was a Roe versus Wade comment about one of the scenes that has nothing to do with it at all. It's like you haven't watched your own show, so I think the trailer not being lukewarm at best didn't help, and then all these people with these political agendas shoving these agendas into something that doesn't reflect them is not helping either.
Yeah. They're essentially helping people see ghosts that maybe wouldn't be there or could have been maybe more easily dismissed. But now that they're flapping their gums, saying particularly the disturbing scene of childbirth is an allegory for Roe v. Wade.
Can we just point out that this was filmed a long time ago, and that this had nothing to do with that?
Zero.
Like time moves forward in one direction, unfortunately. And
that's like saying an episode of Scooby-Doo from the 1960s was an allegory for George Bush in the Iraq invasion. You can cut shit out of the air for anything.
Oh my God.
It's like, what are we doing, guys? It's like, just shut the F up and let us watch a fantasy show. You know why? Because it has effing dragons in it.
Yes, that look good.
Look good.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Purple, we got a little derailed. Are we answering your question?
Yes, you did. And just to kind of swing back to your initial question, you said what makes a good show. For me, it would be a talented cast, engaging script. So you need writers who actually know what they're doing. If it's based upon something, a famous IP, for example, respect for the law would be right at the top. And 2, to keep out modern day politics, whether it be sci-fi, fantasy, whatever it is, just tell the story as it is meant to be told.
Paul Wolfley's not wrong. Prima facie, superficially, The Expanse did check all the boxes. And it was one of the reasons I didn't start watching, because I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get free love in space. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Being ignorant of the fact that these were some pretty well-written books, which I've now read the first one. But I had the same experience with House of Dragons that I did with The Expanse, where I was so pleasantly surprised. And yeah, there were some, you can call woke casting if you want, whatever it was, but the story was compelling. And I've heard people say the pacing of this is too slow, or it just plods along, or it's predictable. And it's fascinating to see what's going on in Legacy and Access Media with how they're covering the show. where it really kind of looks like they're trying to upsell the fact that the Rings of Power is basically a teenage action movie with, the bestest ever Gladriel. And how could you like a show as plotting and slow and requires you not to look at your phone during the show or shop on Amazon like you can during the Rings of Power? I think that's really the weird aspect. And Steve, that was your point, is that this is a show where you can't be doing this because you'll miss shit. You will miss important things.
Yeah, no, well, I think it was actually Pips and with Napoleon that brought that up initially, but yeah, I mean, you have to pay attention, and it's like the show expects you to listen and then figure stuff out because they trust you to figure stuff out, right? So I don't know. A lot of the excuses I've heard is a lot of what you guys have already said, and then just like remember Game of Thrones? It was good from 1 through 4, and then it took a dive, right? And it's like, yeah, that's a good point, but remember why everybody was so angry about Game of Thrones being bad. We got 4 really good seasons of television, right? So is there not a possibility we'll get some good seasons of television out of this, and then it'll make us even more angry if it screws up? I mean,
yeah. And the minute this goes off the rails,
oh yeah,
the scene, you will hear it because we're going to be doing live. We will be doing live reviews. I wish I was a shill for HBO and getting free coffee mugs or whatever horse shit people sell their souls for. Oh, do I even want to talk about somebody? No, I don't want to do that. But yeah, I don't, I like, but honestly, I never watched Game of Thrones on TV. I never saw one episode. I said this on the Nerdporial show, and that's true. I read the books, and I stopped after a certain point because George R.R. Martin just pissed me off because he literally killed everyone I cared about. And I threw the book at the wall, and I said, you know what? F this clown. I don't even remember. I don't even remember who I like, why I like them. And it's like, call me simple-minded, but I'll go back to my Terry Brooks and my Tolkien and my, Piers Anthony and all this other stuff. So maybe I'm not a sophisticated consumer of fantasy, but that's okay. I mean, am I a normie fan of Game of Thrones? 100%. And that's the value that I wanted to bring to the watch with Nerdporial and Pips and Steve was I'm very rarely in that place of, I don't know, like I'm not bringing the baggage of the bullshit that I saw from Game of Thrones, reading about it in the papers, where I'd see scenes of Starbucks coffee cups left in the shot that they filmed, and then Dan and Dave supposedly getting a Star Wars trilogy and all this stuff. I don't have any emotional attachment to that because I wasn't invested in that universe. Now, if I was, would I be treating this show differently? Potentially, but I don't, So what about you, Purple, as far as based upon what you've heard, are you going to watch it? And if you watch it, are you going to maybe give a commentary on it?
I'm absolutely going to watch it. Yes. I mean, I did watch Game of Thrones and I pretty much got to the point where everybody else did. But as you say, we had 4 great seasons. And I think it is important to differentiate between Game of Thrones and this new show because there is no connection other than it is set in the same universe by the same author. It's not the same people. It's not the same cast. It's not the same directors or producers. So there is no guarantee at the moment that it is going to head in the same direction that Game of Thrones did. And I think a lot of people have had that knee-jerk reaction because they were so burned and so disappointed by what we got.
Yeah. And this is, I did watch Roman's reviews, and I disagree with Roman of the Empire on quite a bit of his review, but that's okay. He's allowed to have his take. I don't agree with the sex scenes taking you out of the story because that was pretty much all that I knew about Game of Thrones were people like putting up nude scenes from the show. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not enough for me to watch it. That's cool. And I have seen women naked before. So, I just... I don't know. But, I mean, again, I'm not being critical of Roman. I'm just saying I fundamentally disagree with some of his takes. And I disagree with a lot of people's takes. But I'm one moron on YouTube, I'm just willing to back it up with criteria why I like the show. And that's what I guess I'm going to start doing is, I'm going to start talking about, is there a story? Was the casting correct? Is the cinematography correct? If you watch the Rings of Power trailer, is the music correct? I mean, is the pacing correct? Are there stakes? And then of course, is there the insertion of ideology? Because to me, that's when I was watching this show, I had an invisible checklist, and I'm like, okay, And we, did we tap the button on woke a little bit? Yes, but it didn't go off on a trajectory.
I think that the sex scene, one of the, I don't want to spoil it, but in that scene that people have said it pulls them out of the show. First of all, it was relatively tame, especially for Game of Thrones. But secondly, you learned a ton about both characters involved in it without having. They didn't have to tell you anything. They just showed you how they interacted, and I learned so much in 2 minutes. Like, that's what it's for.
Exactly.
It wasn't exposition.
No.
You had to watch people acting in a show. Now, again, is this the greatest show ever made? No. But I'll tell you what, this is the first damn role I've seen Matt Smith in since Doctor Who, where I didn't go, oh, look, it's Doctor Who. Because Matt Smith was somebody else, And
I thought he looked stupid in the trailer. I didn't want to. I'm like, oh God, this guy looks like a goof.
He did.
And it's all about feminism. I went in with that mindset, and I loved his character in this.
Yeah, I mean, again, look on Steve's channel. We decided to release these things because we wanted to show just how dismissive I was and how negative I was being before we watched 1 minute of it. And that was the learning experience for me, because I was bringing all of my baggage from the Wheel of Time and from Star Wars and from Doctor Who, and you all the list, right? Because everything has been shit for so long. And then guess what? We're going to get even more shit before it's all over. And if we're all in the nuclear rubble, we'll probably get shit then too. But for one episode of TV, I it's not like I'm getting married and selling all my shit to go, stock Jar Martin. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is, it's encouraging. One episode is encouraging.
I just don't understand how we're so fragile now. I guess we're just waiting for the dime to drop, and I get that. Trust me, I've been burned on Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, all of it. I get it, and I'm not. Season 2 or episode 2 could be absolute crap. I'm totally prepared for that, but I don't know why we are letting 1 or 2 small scenes. I mean, the sex scene is like what. Not even a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
But it was important because
it was important.
This relationship of the characters. It was like Zaxx said, it was a show. Don't tell.
But even if you don't like it, even if it just is, you don't like it, I don't know how that chunk is pulling people out completely. Like that's I just don't. I mean I don't know. The rest of it just for me, it didn't bother me. I guess that's why I'm having trouble relating. It's just, you learn so much, just like Zaxx said. You learn if you're paying attention to all the characters' actions, they're acting a certain way. Something very interesting happened right before that scene, and then he does what he does and is unable to do what he should be doing. And if you put that together, you go, oh, maybe that meeting was a little bit more to that meeting. Now that I'm thinking about that, because he can't do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
subtlety.
Subtlety.
I don't know.
Yep. I don't know.
I think it's also a very good refresher for us as fans and as people who love good entertainment to kind of take a step back and think, okay, so maybe I had preconceptions about this show and it surprised me.
Yeah.
So when a show is great, it is important to talk about why it's so good and why we enjoyed it and what we're looking forward to. But in the same vein, it's also important to say a show like Sandman, which everybody seemed to love, why it wasn't a good show, why we didn't like it, not that we were hating on it, but we will give reasons why. So it's finding that balance with everything that you watch.
I mean, everybody's gonna like and dislike different things. That's not what I'm saying. You don't like it, you don't like it, right? I would love to I don't know. Some of the reasons I've seen have been like, okay, that's sort of weird, but fine.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I don't know how else to say this, guys, but I'm seeing things where there are much larger channels. If they take a position, then other people just kind of parrot that. I know I'm not making friends, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. It's just like there's nothing personal. It's just you got to call it like you see it, And I'm from a different generation, and I'm not carrying anybody's bags. Just going to say that. There's a super chat from Daniel for $1.99 says Purple proved her open-mindedness with Moon Knight. I still don't know why we're friends after you did that, because I was embarrassed to know you. I was embarrassed. Talk about Moon Knight, but you're right. You had some hope there. You did, and
I
you know.
I did. I still maintain that there were little seeds of excellence in that show. We could have done with having a little bit more Moon Knight in the Moon Knight show, but hey, I'm sure if they ever get a second season, they'll get around to it. But it had such a good cast with such good potential that was wasted again on with Disney. And I know that's pretty much the track record of their shows, but what can I say? I'm an eternal optimist, and this was a character from the comics that I was not familiar about, so I was excited to learn about him.
Yeah, I mean, we had strenuous disagreements on the Wheel of Time, and yeah, Salty's going there, but it's important. Wheel of Time was something that was dismissed by many, many larger channels on this platform. And there were those of us who were just starting out and saying, this is important. This is important because it's the same studio that's going to be doing the Rings of Stupidity or the Rings of whatever, representation. And now here we are, and we're right. Now, nobody wants a pat on the head and a free t-shirt, but what we want is for maybe to go, geez, maybe I shouldn't dismiss these things. You know, maybe if it's an IP or a fandom or a story that I don't know, maybe I go and I talk to somebody who does love that story and says, what are you seeing with this? Why is this an issue? You know, I mean, Disparu and I were at about the same place, subscriber level, you know, and when we were both covering this, you know, and Disparu is incredibly passionate about Robert Jordan's world, you know, and we're going to talk about that again sometime. But that's how I met Steve. That's how this channel took off, because I was ready to quit YouTube. I really was, for a whole lot of reasons, because YouTube isn't kind. But that's how I met Zaxx. Zaxx, you never wanted to even talk on a microphone, let alone be on screen. Now you're a pinup model, dude. People, you're like in Playgirl magazine. You're a centerfold. Beefcake.
I'm waiting.
But I mean, you know, just because it's not your fandom, just because, you know, you've never read it, that doesn't mean somebody doesn't love it like crazy. And Purple's like that with Discworld, and so is Louise X Sparrow. And it's like, I've read a couple of the stories. I'm not crazy about it. Purple's crazy about it. So when she tells me what they did to the Watch, I'm not going to go, well, what the hell does she know? I'm going to go, wow, I know what that feels like. Because they've done that to Robert Jordan. They've done that to the Sandman. And I watched it with Gray with the Sandman, where his heart was breaking when we were watching it live. And it's like, that is the worst feeling in the world. And I would never dismiss that. I like the Sandman. I read it. I have some of the issues of the comics, but it didn't break my heart the way Wheel of Time did. And my heart is already broken, and I'm already over what they're doing to the Rings of Representation, because this is not Tolkien, and they made it abundantly clear how little disrespect they have, not just for Tolkien, but they have for us as fans. This show was not made for an audience. This show was made to reach ESG score objectives and for their corporate, I don't know, backers. But it sure as shit isn't made for anybody who wants to watch something that you could call Tolkien. So, yeah. Yeah. I've put together a list, and I'm going to start using it for every review I do of every show. And this was created in concert with Purple Valkyrie and also with Steve, and then Kyle. We'll get together after the show. Number one is the story. Number two, if it is from well-known source material, how faithful is it? Number three, is this a 3 or 4 act play with a beginning, middle, and end? Is there the hero's journey? Is there conflict, growth, and stakes? How is the casting? Is the characterization of the casting, is it compelling? How is the pacing of the story? What is the cinematography? If there's a score and a soundtrack, is it as inexplicable as the bullshit we got from the Rings of Power today? And the last and final thing is, how much is it being used as a platform for ideology? Because I think when it comes to things like, because we're talking major dollar fantasy shows, the House of the Dragon cost $300 million, right? The first season of the Rings of Power cost $465. Is it apples to apples exactly? No. But I think if we start applying those metrics, and then also it comes down to, you know, all those different scores, you can hate something, you can love something, but why did you hate something and why did you love something? You know, and anybody's welcome to ever call me out and ask me why I feel this way about anything, and I'll tell you why. I'm not just going to say this is shit and then make jokes about it and call that a video. So,
Well,
yeah,
I just want to say we seem to be in a very weird place right now, and I don't know if anybody else has been noticing this because somebody in chat mentioned Prey. I think it was TRW. I know, I've watched Prey and I have my opinions. Eventually, I'm going to make a video on it.
yeah,
And there's a lot of people that saying like, and this is where I'm at. Of course, it's just me, and maybe I'm on my own freaking in my own world with that movie. It wasn't that it was super over the top woke. It was that it was super over the top terrible that I didn't like
yeah,
it. And
yeah,
we have I've seen a lot of people saying it was okay. So I don't. This is where I sort of get very confused. How people can say Prey was okay and House of the Dragon is not. I don't get it. And what is it? What is the barometer? What are we judging this on? Because the
yeah.
Predator looks somewhat cool in it. I mean, the Predator looked fine in it. It looked actually pretty cool. I like some of the weapons downgrades and all that stuff. Could have been an interesting story. I could go on about it. I don't understand. I don't get what the range is for good
Yeah.
anymore.
Purple, did you see Prey? What did you think about it? I thought you watched it.
I did watch it. Yeah, I thought it was kind of mediocre, to be honest. Again, it's not really a franchise that I follow very much, so it didn't mean much to me when it came out. But again, it's one of those that people feel passionately about, and it seems to have split the fan base. It's like half the people, as Steve says, absolutely love it, and then there are other people that say it's an absolute woke mess. There doesn't seem to be any in between, or anybody willing to come together and say, okay, I hated this part, but this part was okay. We've lost the art of discussion again.
Yeah.
Subtlety, nuance, detail. What do you think? What did you watch Prey? I mean, where are you at with this, Zaxx?
I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard a lot about it and I will watch it eventually. But from both sides, and I think it's actually been a decent conversation at least because there are people who like it or parts of it. There are people who don't like it, and some of the people who often wave the flag for let's hate this thing didn't for that movie, and so I think there's a bit more room for that, and I will watch it. But yeah, like you guys were saying, I've noticed a lot of the default position from a lot of people that I respect is to not like something. I don't like it, and there's probably reasons for that. But the more you listen to what they're saying about why they don't like something, you have to ask yourself: are those things actually here? Are they present in the story, or are you putting them in the story, or are you misreading something? And if you took the time to ask someone else, maybe they could help you fill in those blanks. And also, there's the other part of it is I've noticed there are people who hate on something they've never actually seen.
Yes, there's a lot of that. There is a lot of that.
Yeah. We'll just say
I like Prey's one of those I would love to sit down with somebody that would defend it and just have a conversation because I don't get it.
Not have it degenerate into name calling, because that's not what this is about. This is the same stuff we used to do in the comic book shop when we were playing D&D or buying lead figures. Yes, they were made of lead. They were made of lead. We didn't die. And we're buying dice. It was a matter of which module was better for AD&D. I mean, which game was better? Was it AD&D or was it Traveler or was it Into the Labyrinth? Then you got into comic book characters. Then who was the best character in Star Wars? Who is the best character in Star Trek? Who would win in Battlestar Galactica if the Galactica went up against the Enterprise? This is what we did before we had the internet, and people would get upset and people wouldn't agree. I'm not defending this show. Again, I wish I was getting a check from HBO for this because that would really help, but I'm not. I'm trying to get to a place where I try to go out of my way to make something that's smart and to defend positions I have based on doing research. And then if I say I don't like something, here's why I don't like it. One of the things I find inspiring about what Critical Drinker does is he tries to fix things and says, this is how it could be better. And I agree with that. I think there are some things that are so horribly broken, they cannot be fixed unless you literally burn it all down and give it to somebody else. And but I admire that because it's not just rage farming. And I think this is what we've been dancing around, is at what point does not being articulate and at what point does just saying everything is shit turn into what those people on the other side that are freaking lunatics with blue hair and pronouns? At what point do we prove them right? You know,
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
not a barometer as to my success or my validity, but I'm just saying maybe we need to articulate things a little bit more. And I'm going to really try and do that. I'm going to use my I statements. I am going to try and do that a little bit more if I don't like something. And if I do like something, I'm going to also quantify why. You know, YouTube has been flooded with people who came along about the same time that I did. There are so many things to watch right now in our nerd space. There really are. And as someone who is a content creator who's been on here for 2 years, and those of you who are creators in the audience, you know YouTube has been insane the last 2 months. I have never seen these things happen. I have never watched my view counts go from 1,000 to 800 to 600 within 48 hours, literally being taken away. Not only that, but few pennies I make doing this. It's insane. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're trying to fight this battle and we're trying to bring some next level content. And then YouTube's like, oh, no. We're going to demoralize you and make you crazy. And you can ask Purple Valkyrie, you can ask Steve, you can ask Zaxx, you can ask much larger channels about that because we're all going through the same things right now. So I don't know. I hope it comes back. We've talked to some people who are in the know who say it should come back, but boy, I'm ready for it to come back anytime. Really, I am. So let me get to this. Let me get to Taker610, long-time supporter of this channel, says for $2, hey, at least it wasn't the House of Drag.
Yeah, true.
They're going to do that with Ferris Bueller. Did you guys see that? They're going to do a diverse Ferris Bueller show. What was the other one? I didn't want Purple's like, do you want to run with this? I'm like, hell no, the world's fucked up enough. Why do I want to talk about like a diverse, pronoun intensive, trans representational Ferris Bueller's Day Off? It's a true thing.
Or a Disney Plus King Kong show that's coming. Yes.
Well, but,
yes.
But I think the Ferris Bueller is worse. That is just a classic. Just put it on and watch it now. Like, don't touch Ferris Bueller. Just leave him alone. Just watch it. We're hitting. I mean, God, nothing is safe. That's all there is to it.
Oh, it's over. Yeah. When we get something that isn't crap, we should say it's not crap. But like I've said, the minute this thing goes south, I'm going to say, here it is. I said that I'm going to do it. This is where the bait and switch happens, and I'm usually right about that. You know, I mean, not that I'm a genius. It's just how many times have we watched this happen? You know, the minute this thing goes south, I'm going to say, yep, episode 1 was pretty darn good, and I fell for it, and that's okay. You know,
and that's fine. But and I think that's exactly the base standpoint for most people is I'm ready to be burned, so I'm just not going to like it from the start. It's just I'm ready for it.
At least you can hold that one episode up and say, this is what fantastic fantasy is. This is what you need. This, if you want the fans to be behind you, this is what you need to do.
Well said, Purple.
This is a good time to pivot into the Sandman. For those of you who didn't watch the Sandman, go ahead.
Can I jump it? I want to jump on this one more thing, and because Paul Wolfley said it earlier in the chat, and it was about dialogue not being a mistake or not by accident with these expensive productions, and that's true. But one thing I've noticed is we've become so used to over this last couple of years Disney style of storytelling, which is there's nothing below surface level. It's just exactly what you see. That's what it is, right? And it's boring and it's bland and it's plain. But people have to remember that when you're watching a show like House of the Dragon, for example, just because a character says something doesn't make that true when they're speaking to each other. And so people are jumping on these things sometimes like they're facts, but they're not. It's two characters with different agendas having a conversation, and they're not talking to us, they're talking to each other. And so that's something that we have to remember if it's a more layered show.
Yeah. I think Disney has done irreparable damage to how we perceive the story.
Agreed.
And there's a reason for that. It was intentional. I'm going to be doing a video on that. This is intentional.
Oh, yeah.
These stories are not made for us. We all remember TNG. Going to use that as an example. The first 15 minutes, they set up what the problem was. Second 15 minutes of the Star Trek The Next Generation, there was conflict, there was tension. Third third 15 minutes, third quarter before the commercials, there was some huge catalyst or event where they needed to solve something, or the Enterprise would blow up, or Picard was going to say there were 3 lights instead of 4, whatever it was, right? And then in the last quarter, you had the denouement, you had the coming together where you reestablish normalcy. And each one of those episodes essentially had a mini hero's journey within all of them. Some better, some worse, but it was essentially a 4-act play, a 3-act play expanded to 4. Disney has destroyed that so that you don't watch characters experience adversity, have challenges, grow. You see someone who's perfect come in, do meaningless things that have no stakes, say clever lines. There's bright flashing lights, and then that's it. And you wonder what the hell happened. That's not an accident.
Clips, yeah. One-offs, clips, bad jokes. Yeah.
And then hope that they can sell some merchandise, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I never saw The Mandalorian. I saw when Luke came on, and I cried like a little girl with that one. And I absolutely, I'll tell anybody that. That is all we ever wanted. And here's the thing. We know they can do it. They're just not doing it. So that I think, Zaxx, you're entirely on. So where I want to go with that is the Sandman. So the Sandman came out, and there was a lot of weird press on Twitter and social media. It did get a lot of view minutes for the first couple of episodes. Where it ended up, I don't know. I know as of today, globally, it is number 3 on Netflix. Now, I don't know what that means compared with viewership numbers, which have been going down, but it's still impressive. The frustrating thing about Sandman, we covered it very well in Purple's live show. Please go check that out, where she dressed up as Death, was that this show pulled a bait and switch essentially in episode 3 and never looked back. And the problems were, and we talked about it in detail, the casting, the dialogue, the pacing, the production quality, and the fundamental changing and race swapping and gender swapping of characters from the original source material. So what happens? We find out, Purple, I, and Gray, that there are 2 bonus episodes to the Sandman. Tell people what you thought about them, and I'm going to give my impressions because I was so angry. I was so angry after watching these that it was inconceivable they did this to us.
I didn't think you were going to watch it, so I still haven't watched it on your guys' suggestion, so I'm ready to listen.
Yes, we did actually watch both episodes. One is much shorter than the other. They put them both together, and this was the talked about 11th episode, and then they released the 10 episodes, and we thought, oh well, maybe they changed their mind. But what I think happened was that these episodes should have been released first as a teaser for what was to come.
Tell them about the first one, the animated. They did an animated Sandman. Sandman was a graphic novel. Sorry, go ahead, Purple.
They did, absolutely, yes. So something that we thought would have worked far better for the style and the out there stories that is the Sandman. It should have been animated rather than live action, and that's what they did for the first short. It's from Sandman. It's a collection, a Dream County, and it's all about cats, which was a little bit weird, but go with it here. It's called Dream of 1,000 Cats, and it basically tells the story of what it's like to be a cat and what do cats dream of. But it was beautifully animated. It was great.
It was incredible. It was incredible, and it took something that was in an animated graphic novel form and actually made an animation of it. And it was heartbreaking to watch because we both just sat there and go, this was definitely going to be the teaser for the show. And and I think what they realized is if they showed people that animated short, and it was incredible. I mean, it was beautiful. If you're going to watch one thing in Sandman, watch that. It is really good. But if they would have released this before the show came out, and then we got that shit show of forced changes and hyper everything and bad casting and bad pacing and bad effects and very poor delivery of dialogue and no real structure to the story, people would have lost their minds and been much harsher on the Sandman. But yeah, they hit it until 2 weeks after this had been out, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we have this beautiful animated short that shows you what this show could have been. But
and it's the same cast doing the voices of these characters. It's the same guy that does Morpheus. It is all the cast that is the live action crew, and they do a great job. For a 20-minute short, it's a lot of fun, and it looked great, and it just seemed to fit the story that Neil Gaiman was trying to tell.
The one he told in the 80s, which he's now ashamed of, and has to change just about everything about it so that it can fit who he decided to cast based on their physical appearance and sexuality. The story had to be changed for the actors, actresses, whatever their pronouns are for the show.
Don't worry, the white dude was the bad guy. Don't worry, guys.
Yes.
Here we go.
And this leads into the second part of this bonus, I guess you could call it a bonus episode. It's called Calliope, again taken from the same short story anthology, and this is straight back to the actual show. It's Neil Gaiman, I guess, correcting the mistakes of the past that he's done by changing it and definitely giving a story that was written in the 80s a very modern update, which is exactly what he wanted to say.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zaxx.
I was just going to say that, you know what? I didn't finish that episode, even though there wasn't a ton left to watch on it. And I just I went to the thumbs down, this isn't for me on the Netflix thing. And because I knew, I feel like I knew what was going to happen. Like I could see the characters. They told me who's who, and they showed me who's who, and I didn't need to see the rest of it. So it may have a cool ending, but I probably will never know.
Yeah, I had you muted, Steve, because I know Steve's AC went out, and so he had somebody helping out. But if you want to mute yourself when you're not on, that would help. So.
I thought I did. I did the opposite. Sorry.
That's okay. It's confusing. But yeah, I mean, that was the heartbreaking thing about this show. And what's crazy is even though Gaiman did that with that last episode, it's a live action one. It is a self-contained story. So the crew that made the unbearably woke is such a terrible word. The poorly paced, poorly written, poorly cast 8 other episodes, which in no way captured at all what Neil Gaiman did in his graphic novel, The Sandman, in my opinion. They proved that in one episode, they could make a fully self-contained beginning to end story and have you care about it and the characters and in the angles of the camera that they chose and the dialogue. They just decided not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the one episode that's live action that is good in there. The antagonist, I guess you have to call it that, the bad guy, he's white. I know that shocks everybody, but he was actually the character that plays oh god, no, I'm gonna get my nerd cred pulled. It was from
the other white
Matt
guy was
Smith's,
bad too.
Yeah, well, from Matt Smith's Doctor Who, and it was Gillian, Karen Gillian's boyfriend, the Roman guy who played, who was the Roman, and all that. I can't remember this cat's name, David Carver or Garver or something like that. But he played the bad white guy who had his way with a woman.
He does.
Shocking.
He keeps a muse Calliope prisoner. Because obviously muses, he's an author, he needs inspiration, and to get inspiration he, as Salty says, has to engage with her against her will. And this is one of the things that they've talked about in quite a few interviews, the depiction of how it was done and what they wanted to represent with the character and her point of view in line with modern attitudes. So whereas in the book she is a lot more passive, and she because she's so beat down, she kind of takes the abuse, but then finds a way to get her revenge later on. In the TV show, she's a much stronger, much more defiant character.
Yeah. And the thing about it is we can analyze this on the woke meter, and I'm not apologizing for it. The biggest thing that struck me about this was they told a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end in one episode. And it was compelling. Now, it was woke, but it was compelling. And it was actually the first time that I saw Morpheus or Dream and actually believed that he was Morpheus or Dream.
I missed that part.
So it's anyway, don't think that they're not doing what they're doing on purpose. If they want to, they can make it. They really can. I just wonder if they didn't shoot both those things before all of the diversity and representation quotas that went down, because this show sat in production hell for forever. And you can't tell me that that wasn't the original way the show was going. And then somebody's like, oh my God, there's this cool thing called ESG and it's pushed by BlackRock. And now we all have to do it. And everything's going to suck, but we get to have all the representation and talk to everybody in LA and say like, look, I have this person. I have my token this. I have my token that. Aren't I virtuous?
Mm-hmm. And to me, as we say, these did feel like they were supposed to be teasers to get people interested in the main arc of the story, because as Salty correctly says, they are both self-contained, and we are hearing at the moment that they think that perhaps they're not going to get a second season. And Neil Gaiman is on Twitter at the moment trying to rally people behind him and saying, if you love this, let Netflix know. But it's not about the fans. It's about, did it make money?
I wanted to ask you guys about that because you guys know Sandman and I don't. But I thought maybe they released those episodes because there wasn't going to be a season 2. Because if you hadn't done them already, like you said, Purple, they should have done it beforehand as a teaser. It makes sense to do it as like an interstitial between seasons at least.
Mm-hmm.
But just to dump them with no notice 2 weeks later is a super weird move to me.
I really do think they're so much superior to the actual show. If they would have showed these in advance, people would have literally went, what the hell are you doing? You got a beautifully animated short, and then a self-contained good story. It's crazy,
Yeah.
And then you get the plotting whatever and bait and switch in episode 3. So yeah. But Purple, go ahead and talk about this. It is far from a certain thing. And Steve, are you good for me to unmute you?
I'm sorry, man. My kid is going to get
That's
punched
just
in
a
the
yes
face.
or no. We're good. No. I love Easton. I don't blame
We're
Easton.
good.
I don't blame your
yeah,
12-year-old son. I blame you. All right. So anyway, blaming his kid. What kind of move is that? Jeez. So yeah, I mean, the series has racked up 127 million hours viewed, but Gaiman thinks that might not be enough because Sandman is a really expensive show. After seeing it, I'm going to ask the same question as I did with Wheel of Time. Where the hell did all the money go?
Agreed. Yes. Yeah. And it's bizarre because on paper it ticked every single box that they could. We've talked about this in length of the things that have been changed just so that it would fit modern day sensibilities and to appeal to a, in theory, modern audience, which is what they're chasing. But even now, it doesn't seem like it is enough for them to get it. And I don't know whether this is a problem with the source material or whether it is simply a Netflix problem, because we've seen this time and time again. They have these incredibly expensive shows and they only get one season, whether they're a success or not, it seems.
Yeah, but it sounds like they are going to renew Resident Evil.
Wow.
They give that a season 2.
Come on.
Look at this face. Check the calendar. What does it say on the calendar? 2022. That's what it says. And yes, Sarah Gary, and I was close. It is Arthur Darvill, who of course played the love interest of, oh God, damn it, I can't remember her name in Doctor Who because I'm traumatized from what Shinballs did. But yeah, it's that is the guy who played the Roman boyfriend that waited forever for the Matt Smith companion, female companion. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, but you guys get the point. I just wanted to acknowledge people for that. But Sarah Gary, and I'm going to bounce you this. I fear that ESG money is going to keep the Rings of Power afloat despite the damage it will take. Yeah, we'll talk about that one next, and we'll go right into that because we're going on an hour. I promised Purple we wouldn't go for 3 hours tonight because it's dark 30. And I think Steve is out of timeout now. But yeah, I am not grumpy. You know what I am? I'm honest. So that's where I'm going with that one. But yeah, we'll see about Sandman. I'll tell you what, if they gave us nothing but animated episodes like they did earlier, this show would have been off charts. This show people would be talking about this Sandman the same way they are a House of the Dragon. This could have turned Netflix around. It could have brought people to subscribe to it. Instead, they took the predictable ESG representation. Let's race swap, gender swap, change everything. Look at our pronouns path. Look where that goes.
Purple,
Where
can
that
I ask
goes.
you, have you watched any of the Love, Sex, and Robots episodes?
I have, yes, I have watched
Would,
those. Yeah,
would that have worked for Sandman to do it in that style?
I think it would actually, to do the different stories, because the Sandman isn't really a linear story, and even the episodes that we had, there was like 3 episodes which were an arc, which is a Dream trying to get his items back, and then it moves on to 2 individual episodes in the middle, which were arguably the most enjoyable, and then it's a 3rd story to finish off the season, which how the hell do you make a superhero a killer convention, a serial killer convention boring? It's incredible. But
True.
yes,
Yeah.
I think had they each picked for each of these arcs a different animated style, I think it would have worked brilliantly. And Neil Gaiman's had his work done as animation before. I mean, Coraline, for example,
Yes.
looks amazing.
A lot of these things would be beautiful as animations. I mean, even going back to Wheel of Time again, there's some animations of Wheel of Time that are actually quite good. So they've, just like you said, they've shown they can do it. I don't know why they choose. Well, we know why they choose not to, but
Yeah.
Yes, and even this animation that we had with the Dream of a Thousand Cats, it was almost, it was a more realistic looking animation, but it was so smooth, and it looked great. It wasn't like a 2D animation, it was computer animated. But
It was almost like rotoscope. It kind of had that style.
Yes, exactly. It looked like the old Rankin Bass stuff, the stuff that you would see during The Hobbit or with The Lord of the Rings, with the Bakshi films. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. This comes from a graphic novel medium. It should, how could it not enhance the story to be in a surrealistic or stylized graphic novel animation format, as opposed to, oh, look, we have a woman of color who's wearing clothes from 2022 and doesn't even have on goth makeup, but she's going to sit there and deliver her lines like she's on an episode of, I don't know, Days of Our Lives. And I don't fault the actor. I fault the director, and I fault the dialogue coach, because I mean, it's literally like, I can't even make an analogy without being canceled, but you guys get what I mean. You're not a racist for saying that someone was the wrong person for the role, and they clearly they were not told how to tell the dialogue, or taught how to do character research, or said, don't do character research. Like, if you're not even acting, what the hell are you doing on screen?
Yeah. I saw that cat.
I'm a bigot.
The animated cat episode pulled me in so much, and that I was thinking, watching that, like, how cool would this have been if all of it was the Love, Sex, and Robot style, different animations, different animators, different takes. You could have had a black actress playing Death in that, and even animated the characters black if you want to, but then you don't just have her being in whatever she showed up to set in that day. They would draw a costume on, right?
It is fascinating, though, even in the animated version, the bad people, all of the bad people in the animated one were Caucasian.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about how fucked up your brain has to be to live in that kind of world. They call us names. There's a word for that. It's called being a sociopath. They also used to call it a Yahtzee, like a real Yahtzee, or the Triple K Club, But hey, there I go, talking this crazy anti-narrative stuff. Rankin Bass, baby, Roman of the Empire. Rankin Bass, yes, Targaryen. We got some lovers of that. Don Bluth, too. Let's get some love for Don Bluth. Thunder Sensei 150 dropping. She's nuking it from orbit. They turn glam rock mythology, theology into The Young and the Restless. Yes. They did. But you're a bigot, and I'm a bigot too. So it's absolutely true. Speaking of being a bigot, are you guys ready for your Salty Texas Sea bigot moment of the evening? Because this is going to get real weird real quick. I'm going to tell you right now, I threw up in my mouth just a little bit watching this. Here we go.
Starlight, star bright.
What do you think's going to happen?
Stop it right now. We're good.
Yeah.
We're okay. We're okay. Moving on.
Stop it, Disney. Stop it right now. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen? Tell me what you think's going to happen. Live action Pinocchio streaming on Disney Plus September 8th. What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, no.
Here we go.
I wish I may. I wish I might have the wish I wish tonight.
What do you think's going to happen? Chat, what do you think's going to happen? Tell me what you think's going to happen. Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
What do you guys think's going to happen? Wait, what do you think? Tell me. What do you? Wait for it.
No.
Wait for your expectations to be subverted.
Oh, no.
Does it start with a T?
You
I'm so
lifelong Disney fans, you lovers of the original animated Pinocchio, wait for your expectations to be subverted.
What's Geppetto gonna do?
You wish upon a star.
Boom! Welcome to the Blue Fairy in the live-action Pinocchio, and me doing that makes me a racist. I'm afraid of strong women. I don't appreciate trans representation, and very clearly, I'm a toxic white male. This is the live-action Pinocchio that absolutely no one asked for on Disney.
No one asked for it, but you're getting it anyway, damn it.
Remember
The
God. Story of Pinocchio. It is a puppet who wanted to be a real boy, who wanted to be something he wasn't.
I thought.
Where do we think this may go?
Disney's Pinocchio, rated PG, streaming September 8th on Disney.
I totally thought you were gonna say that Geppetto fell in love with Pinocchio and that was okay.
No, that just happens in real life at movie studios.
At least no kid's gonna watch that movie on purpose.
Ding, 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 ding.
No.
Yeah,
no.
exactly. Yep. TRW says something racist, sexist is true.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a name out of the hat. Pick a name out of a hat. Is the cricket a chick? Well, that remains to be seen. It's fascinating because we're not seeing Pinocchio, which leads me to believe there's going to be some allegory for something, which may have been mentioned by Thunder Sensei 150. Why are you doing these live action things? They're dumb. They're dumb.
They have nothing else to go to. They have nothing else. They bought all the IPs. They destroyed all them. So now they're destroying their own IPs. It's like, okay.
Yeah, Nerdscape says it. He says he thinks
I was
that
thinking
was
the same thing,
Dennis
Nerdscape.
Rodman. That would be. I would actually love to see Dennis Rodman as a fairy godmother.
That could be great.
That would be boss level 4D chess. I would love that. Are you kidding me?
Corey,
Oh
go to
God.
Go to Nerdscape's most recent comment.
I will. I'm gonna look at it. Jada Pink. Oh, you guys are you guys are awesome.
Oof.
Can I just say that?
Wow.
Yeah. Rated PG. Yes, it's a rated PG. Why do you think? Because they're probably smoking cigars. Yeah, it looks like another winner for Disney. Where did you want me to go, Kyle?
Nerdscape has a comment here. Will they eat the cricket?
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I gotta. Oh, hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, I thought that's perfect. Yeah.
Interesting thing about eating bugs, they contain tritons, which are toxic to humanity, but I'm sure they won't tell you about that when they try and get you to eat them. Yeah, the more you know, Rainbow. Funny how that works, Jacob Ironside. Yeah. What do we got here? This is from Purple Valkyrie. Oh, look at this. Oh, wow.
There he is.
What do we got here, Purple?
So that is our Pinocchio. Is that just not the most terrifying thing you've ever seen?
It's nightmare fuel.
I kind of expect someone to dress up like that and harvest organs of kids. Like that's all. Is anybody in chat, honestly, legitimate question, this is freaking terrifying. This is what I'd expect them to put like in a Chucky movie where they like battle to the death or something. Is this something that feels, well, first of all, why did they do this? I mean, did they have to rewrite this and then put people of color in positions because the original story, as it was written and created, wasn't diverse enough, and therefore they're going to win points by doing this internally and no one's going to watch it? I mean, that seems to be all Disney does, if we're honest about it, but I don't get this. I genuinely do not get this. And I think you're right, Pop Culture. Pop Culture Republics is zero imagination or originality. It's true.
Is he going to wish to be a real person and turn into a little girl?
That's what I'm wondering. I mean, I like look by Disney's own admission, guys. You know, yeah.
Steve, I don't think you can say real person anymore either.
No. What am I supposed? What can I say? Real thing?
Whoa, not thing. You definitely can't say that.
Real.
No, it's Zer and Z and Zim and Neem and Nye and Bad and
Zer.
It's whatever, you know. Wait, I'm gonna. Whatever else they pull out of their collective. I'll just stop. Sarah Garian says it best. Quote: "Every book has been rewritten. Every motion picture has been remade. Every street and statue has been renamed, and we are on that path."
Mm-hmm.
It causes me to despair and other people on this panel virtually every day. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? You know, and we're trying to be in this fight, and you know, also act locally. I'll just say that. So
yes,
yeah,
we can keep pointing it out and keep shining a light on it. And I think it's also worth pointing out that this is just one of several Pinocchio projects that are coming out this year.
Oh,
so
yeah.
What's the message behind this? Why Pinocchio and why now?
Pinocchio?
Yeah, it's a trans allegory. That's what it's all about.
Oh, sorry. I'm slow to the party. Man.
No, you're just not a sick human being. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And I'm fine. Cancel me. Take my channel away. It's insanity. I was listening to testimony today from parents in Florida who didn't know what they were doing to their 11-year-old girl. And yeah, we'll just say that. Just check my Twitter feed if you really want to see what the real life impact of all these really good ideas is on children. Let me see. Let me get to. I can't find that damn thing. Pinocchio. Oh, here we go. Purple. This is the article you sent. This is true. Pinocchio meets Bloodborne game. They're making the games with Pinocchio.
Yes, so this is supposed to be a much darker take on the story of Pinocchio. Basically, it's very.
It's already dark.
It's already dark, but it's getting darker. Damn it!
Yeah, but he needs a machete and pronouns. He needs machete and pronouns, and he needs to drink. He needs to drink the blood of children because there's too many people on the planet.
Because he gains power, right?
Get with the program, Zaxx, you bigot. Sorry, go ahead, Purple.
You're absolutely right, and this one came completely out of left field for me. I think this has just been announced today during the Gamescom, and again, same with the film that we've just talked about. Who asked for this, and why now? Why Pinocchio? Why is this particular IP or story being focused on? It just seems incredibly convenient that we've got so many films and now a live action but very violent setting game.
Holy moly! I don't even know what to say. A Bloodborne style Pinocchio. Who who asked or wants that? Like, I don't even.
I want you to play it
know.
now, Steve. I want you to do a playthrough.
Sure, why not? I'm in. Let's do it. Let's do it together. Screw it.
Remember, they didn't secure the rights for Winnie the Pooh. You guys remember that? And they made like some XXX Winnie the Pooh thing, and Winnie the Pooh is like a cannibal or something, and like
5 Nights at Winnie the Pooh's house instead of 5 Nights at Freddy's. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Hail to Snowdub. I just want to shout you out, dude. We got some internet. We got some issues with access, so I'm a little behind on the super chat, but it's great to see you. Be sure to check out Snowdub. Subscribe to his channel, The Cotton Connection. All the wonderful people over there. Good dude. I feel like R-rated puppets. Snow Dub is your man, and yes, I use gender language because I'm a bigot. TRW says this. TRW 1974 says this period will either be laughed at by the future or wiped from history altogether. The latter, it's embarrassing and not wiped in the way that we all want, unless maybe we do something about it, because we're kind of losing this war, guys. We're kind of losing it, and we can choose to withdraw our money and our consent and our subscriptions, and it's having an effect. It is having an effect. We can see it. The challenge is when there's a transnational corporations, like we'll just say like Amazon, for example, there are no consequences. There are no consequences for doing what they're doing to Tolkien. And if there are no consequences, much like with a spoiled child, that child will continue to do whatever they want until they really hurt someone or themselves. And that is exactly what I fear that's going to happen with the Rings of Representation. Now, consequences are occurring to Netflix, to Warner Brothers. Look at what HBO just axed. Look at all the stuff where they're not even going to run with the woke representational Batman. Heel versus Babyface did a fantastic video about that today. He really did, talking about it. And Purple, you've talked about it because you loved Batman the Animated Series. You truly did. Some of these studios are starting to feel the pinch. Does that mean that it's over? I don't think so. I think they have to walk a line. But when you're Disney, for whatever reason, their shareholders are okay with a lot of this happening. And part of it has to do with the size of the institutional shareholders of that corporation. The same institutional shareholders, in some cases with Embracer, who just bought the rights to make more films for Tolkien, that some channels have said it's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. And we'll get into it on another show, but not here because we're going on. We're getting close to an hour and a half. But remember when they said it wasn't a big deal when Disney bought Star Wars? Or how about when Kurtzman took over Star Trek? Or how about when, Chin Balls came into Doctor Who? Not a big deal, right? Why do you care? What, they'd never do what they did to Doctor Who. They're never going to do it. Why would you do that? Why would you destroy Star Trek? There's no way. There's no way Disney's going to fuck up Star Wars, right? There's no way Embracer's going to come in and fuck up Lord of the Rings, right? I have to be real careful about what I say, but I am genuinely frustrated by some of this thinking. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a doomsday guy, but I'm like, how many times do you have to walk across the street and get hit by the same goddamn bus going at the same time every day? So heads up, And I don't mean to be dark salty, but it's like, guys.
Dark salty.
Dark salty. Dark salty. I'm vengeance. I'm vengeance.
Some pepper mixed in.
Where's the trigger?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, there we go. But yeah. I don't know why we need a triple X-rated machete killing Pinocchio. I don't know why we need a RuPaul drag race, whatever the hell that was, Blue Fairy. I don't know why we need a live action Pinocchio that looks like a serial killer costume. I don't know why we need a lot of things, guys. Yeah, Daniel, what are you doing? Are you Daniel always hits me right in the face with these in a good way. He says a lot of silly people said they would never ruin these properties because they were moneymakers. It's true. It's true. I firmly believe that what Amazon has done was the first step that laid the groundwork for Embrace. I'm just going to do it now. Embracer owns Dark Horse Comics, right? Dark Horse Comics put out a book of art with a very, for the lack of a better word, progressive and woke artist who has changed the depictions of Aragorn, of Legolas, of Gladriel, of Eowyn into what he sees based on his ideological framework those characters to be. That artist also did the cover of the reissue of the Hobbit graphic novel done by, I can never remember his damn name, and I always want to have him on purple.
Chuck Dixon?
Purple. Chuck Dixon's graphic novel, The Hobbit, which is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. They replaced his original artwork with this artist. The same guy is the one who made Aragorn a really deep tan. We'll say that. The same one that made Legolas look in a very stylized way, made me question who the hell it was. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. That, again, published art book of Lord of the Rings by Dark Horse, owned by Embracer before they bought Lord of the Rings. Conspiracy? No. What happens next? Wizards of the Coast release a card game, taping the artwork from the official artist of Dark Horse Comics of those Lord of the Rings characters and puts them into the Lord of the Rings card game. That was announced one day after the acquisition of Embracer of the Tolkien properties. Again, Embracer owned Dark Horse Comics and put that book out before this card game came out and before the acquisition of Tolkien. Why is Lord of the Rings? Why are we all laughing at the Rings of Power, saying what happened? Is there going to be genocide in Middle Earth? Where are all the diverse elves and dwarves?
No.
This is going a different way, guys. They are creating evidence in a case to say, but it's been in the books. This is a respected Tolkien artist, and here's the new word in every press release no one is talking about. For Embracer, for Wizards of the Coast, and for Dark Horse. It is a fresh take on Tolkien. Look it up. The same language. It's no longer we need diversity and representation, because guess what? That old chestnut didn't work. It's now a fresh Tolkien untaken. You bigots. What are you, afraid of change? Are you afraid of progress? This is where this is going. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong about this, guys, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. And I'll bring up some of the documentation. I'll also go over the earnings call from Embracer, where they talk about their newly established ESG goals and how they're going to fire 1/3 of the existing CEOs and leaders of the software companies that they own and replace them with women and people of color. Again, does that make me a bigot because I know how to read an earnings report? No. Or listen to a earnings call? No. Where do you think they're going to go with this? #2white. That's not rage farming. It's just research. It's deductive reasoning. Call me Sherlock flipping Holmes. What do you got for me, Purple Valkyrie?
Just wanted to bring up to show the audience a little bit of the work that this guy does, who is doing the interpreting, as he calls it here, or reimagining of the new Lord of the Rings characters. So this is some work that he does, and I don't like this. I really don't. So this is his take on some of the characters, and the further it gets down, the stranger these characters get.
Yes. Yeah, there's a very strong, I know it's an Italian Renaissance or it's Renaissance art. I understand that. I mean, I have an appreciation. You can see who the influences are. The problem is that some of the liberties that are being taken, the hobbits do look like children, but not in the way that I think we all know. And there seems to be there we go. There's Boromir. Mm-hmm. Looks a lot like Daniel. Daniel, I met you. Looks a lot like you. Handsome too. Now, we talked about it on our Wolf Brothers chat for the channel as to what this could be. And maybe I'm seeing ghosts on this one, but I really am convinced that again, this is the same guy that turned Aragorn into not who we all think Aragorn was based upon Tolkien's mythology. But
can I call it time out for a second?
Yeah, do it.
Thunder Sense's got a super chat from about Pinocchio.
All right, roger that. Sorry, guys, I missed that because we are so... Oh my God, Thunder Sensei, you're amazing. Please get back to me in a DM about when we can re-record. Yeah, because we had issues with your Tolkien thing. For $9.99, Thunder Sensei, thank you. The original story of Pinocchio involved debauching little boys and seeking them to slavery. That's the story I read.
Selling them.
Selling. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. The original story involved debauching little boys and selling them into slavery, and Pinocchio ended up being eaten down to his wooden bones. How do you get darker than that? It's true, the original story. Even in the animated one, it's because he was a disrespectful boy who ran away from home and didn't want to work, and all he wanted to do was hang out with ne'er-do-wells, smoke cigars, and drink. And then when he woke up after doing that, he was turned into a donkey and then sold to be used as a donkey. So, Thunder Sensei, you're right. How much darker does it get than the original story?
Well,
It's
that's the whole
Hollywood.
point. Yeah, the original
Sorry.
story, like
Thank
very
you.
similar
Thank
to.
you. Go ahead, Purple. Sorry.
I was just going to say, very similar to the Brothers Grimm stories. It was to teach kids how to behave and what was expected of them. It was written around about the same time, so it was supposed to be allegory. But you're absolutely right. Disney do what Disney do. They sanitize it, and now they're flipping it back on its head, it seems.
So this image you're looking at here is Legolas,
Yep.
the very feminine, gender-neutral Legolas, looking like a plains indigenous person. A woodland elf dressed like that. Now, we can get into conversations about Tolkien lore and everybody who's a Tolkien scholar and all that type of stuff. To me, it just looks weird. It just looks weird. And not just because of Peter Jackson, but it just looks weird. And if you go back through the original artwork of Alan Lee and John Howe, whom I have a bunch of books for, this is the fresh take they're talking about. You know how fresh it is? Take a look at what they did to Aragorn. I'm going to circle back to my original point with this. I firmly believe that Amazon had the ability to buy the rights for Tolkien. So did every other major studio. They had a part to play in this. And their part was to make the Rings of Power, and to make the Rings of Power look the way that it did. They don't care if they lose money. How can they lose money? They're Amazon. They can blow billions on dick-shaped rockets. That ain't no big thing, right? Their role was to create a cinematic experience that people can then reference back to when these future projects come out. Because Embracer can come out and do one-off films about Boromir, Faramir, Legolas, all of the characters, all of them. And I don't know the stipulations of how true they have to be to the source material or not, because I haven't found anything that states that. The Tolkien estate still owns the TV rights. You know, we covered this. Purple and I did. We actually did our research on this thing. This is where we need to maybe not react so much and think about things in silos. It's one of the most dangerous things one can do is get blinders. Look at things as a system. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm saying in my opinion, I think there's a high probability none of these things happen in a sequence within days of each other in a vacuum. And if we know that, and if we know Amazon could have bought this and made this whole cinematic universe, that tells me that they were in this for another reason. What that is, I don't know. But I think, and this is just pure supposition, that Amazon is there to provide the cover with the diversity and representation to allow Embracer to do whatever they want. And they already own Dark Horse Comics, who's already painting a very different picture of what Tolkien described, and saying now they can say, look, we have books that are full of images, and we have art that's established Tolkien art. And so you guys, what are you talking about? Of course, this is Tolkien's world. It's going to happen. That's what I think. And if I'm wrong, make fun of me, please. I'm just not going to be wrong. So,
and they can claim that, well, we're not copying anything that's gone before. This is our own thing. This is our own take on Middle Earth.
Fresh. It's a fresh.
Yep.
There's no more diversity, no more representation. It's fresh. You know what fresh means? Diversity, representation. ESG score, the same shit that's destroying our every fandom we have essentially at this point. So I'm not trying to be negative. I'm encouraging you to think. And again, if you think I'm wrong, tell me. But let's see how this plays out. There's a pattern here. And the writer of James Bond, Ian Fleming, said once is a coincidence, twice is interesting, 3 times is an enemy action. Well, I saw 3. So what number 4 is? We'll see. You know? It's interesting. So Roman to the Empire, so we're mega effed. Dude, we've been mega effed since 2 weeks to slow the spread. But, you know, whatever. Yeah. We're going on an hour and a half, and I promised Purple Valkyrie we would get out of here in an hour and a half. I am going to do a live show tomorrow with Purple Valkyrie. There's a lot of things that we have that I want to cover. Before we do that, Steve and Zaxx in Purple, with what I just said, I would love to hear your takes on this. Do you think I'm crazy? And we don't always agree on stuff. We don't, guys. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm reading into this? What is your read on this before we kind of roll up for the evening and I go drink wine?
Well, for me, Roman's got a super chat here, but I'll go first. It's I like to wait and see the entire picture sort of settle for a while and see where it is before I make any judgments on it. They're a giant corporation, which is already a bad sign. They're at least focused on profit, or seem to be. The price that they paid for these rights is super strange to me, and so I would like to figure out why that is. And then I think once we understand why that was, we might know about more of what the plan is, because it's 766 million after, like, with delayed costs involved, US dollars, what it's looking like, which is for 5 different companies, including the rights to Middle Earth Enterprises, which to me is so low. That's painfully low.
That's wrong. Because we actually, Purple Valkyrie went to the actual press release. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that number, I'm not sure where it's coming from, but the actual number from the press release from Embracer themselves breaks it out at $4.5 billion in cash.
Yep.
And I know the difference between Swedish krona and Zaxx. I'm not trying to embarrass you.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
no,
I went back.
I got that from there
because I heard that number
call.
too.
Yeah.
And I was like, did we get that wrong? And then we went back to the press release and the company's own earning report. And it was
that's
there.
where I got that number.
And the conversion is 4.6 SEC, which is Swedish krona, to the dollar. At the day of that selling, the krona was 95. It was 95 cents to the dollar. So it's about the same
cents.
Number.
Isn't
No,
it
it was
9
90.
cents?
No, it's 90 SEC. We can look. We will look. But when I ran it through the conversion chart, it was a lot. It was a lot of money. If we're wrong, I'll correct it. But it is interesting why the prices and why the weird numbers are out there like that, because I ran it through that calculator. If I'm wrong, I'm going to apologize. But let's go with your number. Let's say your number is right. Tell me what your point is, because maybe I did fuck this up.
No, I think that there's got to be something else to it. Because if that's right, and what the earnings report I pulled said that it was 8.2 billion. This is the delayed costs as well. It's not the initial costs. It's all told, the estimated full cost for that and 4 other companies would be 8.2 billion Swedish krona. And so for me, that's got to tell me there's something else. There's something that's complicated that maybe we don't understand, because someone else would have bid more for that, I would have expected, because we don't even know what portion of that. I would say the bulk of it obviously is for, and they've said it's for Middle Earth Enterprises, but there's 4 other companies involved there as well. And so it
there's
makes
a
me
mystery
wonder,
one too. There's a mystery one. I don't think they've
is.
still announced it.
I don't think so. But for me, I would like to know more about that. And I'd like to know, are these rights tied up? At least are the film rights? Because Embracer Group already is licensing most of the rights. No, they own them, but have they already been licensed for a period of time where they can't exercise them?
This is the complexity with Warner Brothers, and there's more information that's still coming out about Warner Brother and how long they have those rights for, because there's some. It's down the rabbit hole. And because I'm not a security and exchange analyst, and because I don't like reading white papers in financial data, because I'd have to do shit like that in real life, the last thing I want to do at night is, I think I'm going to read this technical briefing or this legal document or something. But we'll find out, because Warner still retains rights, but it also, the images from their film and the depictions of those things, this is where it gets really weird, because Embracer Group got the rights to create theme parks for Lord of the Rings. And again, this has just happened. I don't know if they have a master plan, but I do know they have the ability to do a lot of different things with this. And I think the fact that Embracer Group already bought Dark Horse Comics and was setting up a very fresh take on Lord of the Rings, I don't think it's that much of a leap to think that they have an agenda they're going to go with, especially since they have large institutional investors that invest in funds that have ESG score driven properties. And they've already said they're committing to sustainability and representation.
Yeah,
and they're firing 1/3 of the male leads of these software companies to replace them with men. Their sin being their men. Their sin being their men in software development. Think about that one if you're in the industry. I'd like to be wrong. But I'm not rage farming. I'm not being sensational. I just think that there's something to this. To what extent it is, I don't know. But Zaxx, you're right. This whole thing smells weird. It smells weird, and it's
There's
really
something up.
convenient. Yeah.
I know that Mexican Iron Man was talking about the Warner complications, and there's some court cases, and I do know Saul Zaentz didn't really understand their own rights because they kept getting taken to court when they tried to exercise them, and they couldn't afford the court costs. So like it could be a bit of a mess, and they could have been so short on money that they had to take whatever offer they could get, possibly. But it just seems like it's a very low price for what they purchased if they're going to be able to use it all right away.
Yeah, well, there is some stock on the back end and some other stuff, and I have to run those numbers again because if I effed it up, I will say I effed it up. Let me get to Roman of the Empire for $5. She says, well, now that Salty cheered me up from She-Hulk, I'm going to get some whiskey and call a helpline. Hey, go watch House of the Dragon. It's a great show. Just kidding. I saw your review. But no, go check out, go watch some Rankin Bass. Go watch The Hobbit. Go watch The Last Unicorn. Dude, like, get away from this shit because it's meant to destroy our soul. And Roman, you and I are about the same age. Man, this stuff, it's like poison to us. It's poison to watch Disney. It's poison to watch this woke stuff. There's no 3-act play. There's no hero's journey. And we're sitting there going, what the hell is going on screen? So, hail to you. Louise X. Sparrow says this, and Steve, we'll go to you for a closeout on this. A lot of people never bother going back to look at the originals. They're betting on this stuff to replace them. It's true. I would agree on that. Daniel agrees with that. What's your take on this? Where do you think they're going to go with Embracer Group, Steve, briefly, because I am keeping Purple up way too late.
Yeah, it's going to be brief because I'm not nearly as smart when it comes to a lot of this stuff as many others. So I sort of like to sit back and sort of gather all the information, see what, from other sources. It feels weird. I don't know much about the all-encompassing nature of it. I know they're huge. I know they're foreign. And I know some weird things are happening. And it's a very, very confusing situation. And for how big it should have been, it seems to be very quiet. So that itself is sort of weird. So I'm still waiting for things to develop. But something's tingling in the back of my neck. Something's off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Sarah Garian, you're right. I did say don't chase ghosts. That was just within in one episode, one first episode of a show, and then in this is more. This was based on a holistic view of acquisitions, and then looking at who was invested in the acquisitions and potentially why did Amazon do what they did, and why is their marketing plan continually to call us racists? I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. I'm not saying my way is the only way, but I'm saying that's how it coalesces for me. Purple, I'm going to give you the last comment of the night. Where do you think they're going with this? I'm sure we'll talk about it later. Where do you think they're going to go with this Embracer Group thing?
I don't think we're heading in a very great direction, to be honest. We've done a lot of research over the past couple of days, and we're still looking into this and the repercussions of what they've bought. But given that a lot of things are kind of up in the air, we've talked about the Gollum game that got cancelled just before this got sold, which I don't believe in coincidences. I think that this is attached as well. And they've also obtained the rights to another company, which is called Limited Run. Basically, they take physical media and they redistribute it. So everything that they bought, if you think of like the games, the TV shows, things, they can now redistribute or change if they wanted to. Now that we've also got the side with Wizards of the Coast, we know that they could potentially have a play, for example, and change the way the characters look to reflect what they've decided to do. It's a very odd way to go about this, and I think as fans we have a right to be worried about this. This isn't something to sweep under the carpet and ignore.
Yeah, and you're right, Daniel. I'm a terrible person. Everybody knows that. I agree, Purple Valkyrie. I mean, again, I'd love to believe in the goodwill and morality and love of common man when it comes to our entertainment. I just haven't seen a lot of examples of it. I enjoyed one episode of the House of the Dragon. I hope the second one is just as good, and I hope every other episode is good. I don't know what's going to happen, but I enjoyed one episode. You guys, thanks for being here tonight. We're going to roll out of here now. Purple Valkyrie, I think you're having a live stream tomorrow. Shout out your channel before we get going, please.
Yeah, absolutely. First, let me say a huge thank you to this fantastic panel. We had a great discussion tonight. Absolutely loved the topics that we talked about. And I love coming at things from a different angle. So thank you guys, and thank you to the chat. Salty is right. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking a little bit of woo-woo, I think, to have a little bit of a palate cleanser and a break. And then maybe on the weekend as well, we'll do another stream and kind of come back to this topic and see what we found.
Yeah. And I really want to get Zaxx in on this conversation. I want to pick your brain about what you guys think is going on. I like this panel. Max couldn't be here tonight. He had some grad school stuff, and he may have had a little too much fun in Las Vegas. He may have said that. So he's recovering tonight, but we look forward to having him back very soon. What about you, Steve, Prophet of the Dragon? Where can people find you? What's your next stream, sir?
Oh man, stream. Maybe I may be doing something with Pips on my cloaks tomorrow. Not 100% sure. Try to make sure I'm avoiding the woo woo because I gotta watch that. But hopefully I'm not dying of heat and the air conditioning is fixed. But maybe tomorrow. If not, for sure, me and you we'll be watching some House of the Dragons at some point live. I think that's the plan. We're gonna work that out. So. Either here or on my channel, Prophet of the Dragon, one way or another, and then Nerd Portal every Sunday.
Yes.
Going over it. So
I love that man, and no gay stuff, but I love Brian. Nerd Portal, we had such a great stream on Sunday. Good takes. If you're not subscribed to Nerd Portal Lifeform, he's a hell of a good guy. I'm honored to get to work with him. Everybody on this panel has worked with Nerd Portal. Give him a watch. He makes great stuff. I know he's working on another major project, which is essentially doing a documentary on his favorite video games. How cool is that? You know, it's just amazing. So thanks for doing that stuff. Good night to Thunder Sensei. Good night to Dr. Rachel Lindbergh, who says, too much fun in Vegas. Sure, wink. What do you know? You have pictures? DM me. I'm on Twitter. Hit me up, Dr. Rachel. I'm not saying I want to have something over Max. I'm just saying I want to laugh Max adjacent. That's all I want to say. So thanks, everybody, for being here. We had a hell of a good turnout tonight. Thank you for challenging us. Thank you for disagreeing with me when you thought it was relevant. Go ahead, Zaxx.
And Thursday, we're going to finish off the Elite 8 of our Ultimate Arnold tournament. So come hang out Thursday night, 8:15.
I was going to get to you. I was just like bouncing the chat, and I was going to end on, dude, I wouldn't leave you hanging. I'm just calling people out because everybody's split. What's the name of your channel again? It's
in the chat. It's search me up Zaxx7 on YouTube.
Is it going to leave you hanging, dude? Yeah, I'll be there on Thursday. I look forward to the Arnold stuff. I hope we stay on Arnold topic. I will say that because that was a hell of a good conversation. I can't wait to see who wins the brackets. Zaxx says it's set up like March Madness style. So it's most engaging. It's most satisfying.
You decide.
It's true.
You decide. Yeah.
And we have a shameless plug from the one and only Snowdub. Hail to you, brother. Says, tuck and roll. Come and hang out with Jolly on Taco Tuesday in about 30 minutes. You're welcome. Thanks for the super chat tonight, Snowdub, too. Yeah, just kidding. I'll be giving you one in a minute, but you're more than welcome. Go check out Snowdub. We love Snowdub, and this is what we do. This is what guys do. We break each other's balls. Get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. Daniel wants to know when you're going to have the show, Purple, and then we're going to get out of here.
He says, when am I going to do it? Snow? Whenever he asks, but it's always fun to hang out with the Carton Connection. Gets a little bit crazy, but that's all good.
It gets a lot of crazy. You guys, thank you for a really fun show tonight. It's been a little crazy due to some technical issues. Thank God for Zaxx. Thank you very much for showing up tonight, Steve. You were great on this conversation. And as ever, Purple Valkyrie, thank you for being here and being indispensable. I'm honored to get to do this. I'm blessed to get to call these people friends. And I am very lucky that all of you in chat support this show, support my channel, but also support Zaxx and Purple and Steve the way that you do.
Snowdub came through.
Right at the end.
Turn of the tide.
Dude, I was just doing it to give you shit. You know that. I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna kick it right back to you on your show, dude. And I'm gonna say horse. I'm gonna say horse, and you know what's gonna happen. Snowdub for $2 says, "Whatever, same name." It's true, dude. No, I'm gonna give it right back to you with horse. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I give Snow. Well, yeah, lots of reach arounds. That's what he loves. He loves to clip me while I talk well about his channel and use it as marketing material. So, never change. I love you. I didn't call you cheap. I just said, how about a kiss on the cheek back once in a while, brother? I love you very much. You're awesome, Snow. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks everybody who's been in chat. I love you guys. Thank you to my channel members. This has been a hell of a good conversation. Thank you all very much. Again, we have the new outro that has all of the channel members' names. Stick around. You will see yours if you're a channel member. And if you're not, you'll see some awesome deepfakes as we roll out of here. Good night, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you tomorrow on Purple Show.
Take care.
Good night.